Today, the book we'll be reading is Becoming Bach by Tom Leonard. Bach were once known as a really very influential family, and a lot of them were musicians. Musicians were people who played instruments or they created music. What are some music pieces or songs have you listened to? Very good. And as we're reading the story, I want you to think of this question. How did music play a part in Bach's life? We will begin. There was always music. Music was always being played. When it wasn't being played, I heard it in my head. My family had been musicians for over 200 years. In our part of Germany, musicians were called Bachs. I always wanted to be a Bach. We would bring our instruments and play and sing on the hillside. Even our picnics had music. I learned to play the harpsichord, the trumpet, the violin, the flute, and the organ, and I sang in my strongest voice. So, kids, what were the instruments Bach learned to play? Very good. After Mother and Father went to heaven, I needed to say things, but words weren't enough. Now here in this text, we see in this part of the page, we see that Bach is saying these following words. I needed to say things, but words weren't enough. So, what do you think Bach might do after this page, after this part of his life? Where do you think he'll go? Very good. I walked over 30 miles with my brother, Johann Jacob, to live with our oldest brother, Johann Christoph. He taught me music. I love to copy music, but my brother hid the hard music from me. I found it when he was sleeping at night and copied it. All of it. So, here's my question. What did Bach do in his brother's home? Excellent. He indeed hid his music, and Bach indeed started copying all of them when the brother was sleeping. The music made patterns on page. The patterns made music when you played them. Patterns like the design on my mother's dress. Patterns like the ripples on the surface of the river. New sounds, happy sounds, quiet sounds, yellow sounds, red sounds, and blue sounds. All the sounds in my head. I needed to make patterns, so I wrote music. Patterns of sounds, patterns of invention. Just 7 notes. Every note made a different sound. Just 7 notes. 2 notes together made a different sound. 3 notes together made an even more different sound. What sounds could I make with 7 notes? Now I wonder how Bach was able to create music with just 7 notes. Well, we see here that each of those notes had different sounds, and 2 together made different sounds. The 3 together made even more different sounds. And he was able to make sounds by creating patterns. And we know he made patterns by, as we've seen in the previous page, with his brother, he used to copy music, so he learned how to make patterns by copying whatever his brother had on him. I saw patterns everywhere I looked. When I first When I got my first job as a church organist, I sat down at the organ. I looked at the massive pipes that seemed to rise up to heaven above. The manuals on the keyboards all lined up in black and white, the pedals on the pedal board beneath my feet. I looked at the stops. In rows like notes on a page, I pulled out all the stops. Here we have a picture of him playing the organ. Nice. And I produced the largest sound possible, a sound that could be heard for miles. It was a mighty sound. It was a sound that would be heard forever. It was the sound in my head. It was then that I knew I had become a Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach. Now, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. How did music play a part in Bach's life? Very good. How did he become a Bach in the end? Excellent. How does music play a part in your own life? Good, thank you. Now there are 3 vocabulary words I'd like to share with you. The first one appears in the book and is listed as just 7 notes. Every note made a different sound. Can you see the word notes with me? Very good. Notes, the meaning of words can best be defined as showing and telling the person how and when to play your instrument. The next one I'd like to share with you occurs in the following sentence. All the sounds in my head. Can you see the word sounds with me? Very good. Sounds is best defined as the making up of vibrations or sounds waves that we can hear. And we can see that in Bach when he hears the music in his head. The last and final vocabulary word I'd like to share with you occurs in the following sentence. The music made patterns on the page. Can you say the word patterns with me? Very good. Patterns is something that happens or appears in a regular and repeated way. And that is the end of our session. Very good job.